All right, today we are talking about what makes all those traits. Well, let me use a different color one. How about one with a white? Different traits. And so a trait is something that distinguishes you, and so you might have dark hair or lighter colored hair. Um, but these traits, they can be passed on from parents to their offspring. And these traits can be, like I said, hair color or eye color, but it can also be other genetic orders like dwarfism, or that one picture of the cell that was like this. That's called sickle cell anemia, and that's a genetic trait that's passed on from parent to kids. And so we're going to look at like how that happens, and it's the same process whether you're passing down eye color or hair color, or whether your earlobes are attached or not, or something like Down syndrome. So a lot of these things are genetically based, and so we're going to look at how that works. Okay, so to start out with, you have mom and you have dad. And mom produces an egg and dad produces a sperm. Each one of those have genetic traits, from that one parent. And so humans, the human gametes, and that's what this is called, gametes are egg or sperm cells. So a gamete is an egg or a sperm. And so the gametes from the mom and the dad have 23 chromosomes. They have 23 chromosomes. And so they have 23 little pieces of information that's coming from mom and 23 coming from dad. And then when they come together, the egg and the sperm come together, and so now you would end up in your cell, after mom and dad have come together, you would have, of course, double this, which is 46 chromosomes. So you have 46 chromosomes, 23 from mom, 23 from dad. Those have, it looks like half of the genetic traits from each one of the parents. So little recap. Mom and dad each have a gamete that has half the genetic information because it has 23 chromosomes. Mom and dad's gametes come together and now they have 46 chromosomes. And that has all the genetic traits in it. And so if we were to look at, let me change the... If you were to zoom in on one of the chromosomes, you would see that it's made up of genes. And genes, that's what makes up chromosomes. And so if you have if you have 26 or 23 of these chromosomes in a gamete, and then you were to like zoom in on one of them, then you would see a whole bunch of little genes, and the genes are what carry the traits. And so when they talk about genetic engineering, what they're doing is they're talking about coming in and like snipping out a section of the genes. And so genetic engineering is adjusting the genes in a chromosome. So I want you to realize that we have gametes, and then the gametes, you have two gametes come together. You have a gamete and a gamete that comes together. And then this makes your cells. And then now your cells have to make gametes again. Right? That's how it works. And so I'm going to go over how that happens. So I'm going to go through the whole steps of going from gamete to body to gamete. So let's say we have mom and we have dad. And we have a gamete. And instead of having 23 chromosomes, how about we have 2? And then we have dad, and dad has 2 chromosomes, right? And so then these guys come together, and so now we have mom, and now we have dad, right? And this is you. Now, you have all of your genetic material and all of your cells. And so if you were making an arm cell or something, you would just make this cell over and over again. And then it might be your nose or whatever. But in specific parts of your body, you know, downstairs, those are the organs that produce gametes. And so instead of your cells just reproducing normally, what they do is this is you, but now this might be in boys in the testes. You know, so you have these cells in here that take these cells and now they're going to make gametes out of it. So the first thing that happens is the cells make copies of both mom and dad's chromosomes. It makes a full copy of them. Okay, so we were right here. So it copies itself. And then the next step is these things mix together. So see, we still have the same number. We still have 8 of these things. But now, you know, mom and dad's genetic material has now mixed all together. And now what happens is this thing is going to then split in half. And so when it splits in half, so then it splits in half. And then when it splits in half, now there are 4 chromosomes in each one of the cells, which is like a whole human cell. And then guess what happens? It splits again. And when it splits again right here, it turns into 4 gametes, because now each single gamete only has 2 chromosomes. See? And then you have one of those gametes that makes it from mom and one of them that makes it from dad. And then that makes a person. Then specialized cells in the body say, I need to make gametes. And it makes copies of all of the chromosomes. Then it allows mixing to happen. Then it splits it back into halves. And then it splits it into quarters. So then you end up with a mixed up genetic material. And that's why some of those traits are passed down and some are not. You know, why you can maybe have a tall son and both the parents are short. Because maybe a genetic trait, got passed on from the grandparents. You know, or something along those lines. But that is how genetic material is passed on. And what's pretty amazing is like this mixing really provides a lot of variation. And so variation is good when you're trying to survive. I mean, not everybody will survive with variation, but you know that kind of is that. You know, you start developing traits that match the environment that animals live in, because only tall giraffes can live in this area. You know, or maybe some with super waxy skin can live in this area, and the ones that don't end up dying off. So, but that's how this genetic variation can cause, you know, genetic problems, or it can identify, you know, traits that you and I have. So that is all.